Good morning students. In this video I am going to explain you about Android OS. In the previous video we have learned about iOS, right? Architecture of iOS and the components in the iOS, and here we are going to learn about Android OS operating system. Okay, so this is very familiar with you people, right? So many mobile phones, they are having this Android operating system in your in the devices, right? So we are going to see what are the architecture, what's the architecture for this Android operating system and what are the components in the architecture are doing. Okay, so first Android operating system. So when you are telling about Android operating system, it is a stack of software components. Means it is not a single component, a stack of software components. So many components are there inside the Android operating system. Okay, so that contains 5 elements, or we can say 5 layers, right? So first one, it is Linux kernel, native libraries, Android runtime, application framework and applications. Okay, so these are the layers, and or we can say these are the software components in the Android operating system. Okay, so now we can see how the architecture of the Android operating system looks like. So this is the architecture of the Android operating system, which contains all these components inside. Okay, so all these components will be arranged in the layer by layer in the Android operating system architecture. Understand? So this is the architecture. See, you can see here. So this is the Linux kernel is the first component, and it's given here first component. And next to that it is native components or native libraries. And next to that is runtime, Android runtime, and application framework, and finally application. Understand? So this is the architecture of the Android operating system, and these are the software components inside it. Already told you, Android operating system is the stack of software components, right? So this is the stack of so many software components. Understand? So we can see inside the kernel, Linux kernel, we are having some components, and the native components some components. So for each and everything we are having some little parts inside. So we can see now. We can see one by one from Linux kernel to applications. We can see one by one. And this Linux kernel. Okay, Linux kernel we have seen in the architecture. It's the first base layer, right? And it is the heart of the Android architecture. We all know. So for an operating system, kernel is the heart of the operating system, right? So here also Linux kernel, it is the heart of the Android architecture. Okay, and it provides a level of abstraction between the hardware devices. Okay, so it provides a level of abstraction between the hardware devices. So you are all using the hardware devices, right? So it provides an interaction between the hardware devices with the Android operating system, this Linux kernel. Okay, and it is responsible for device drivers, power management, memory management, device management, and resource access. Okay, so these are some of the functionalities done by this Linux kernel. So what else it will do? It manages, or it is responsible for the device drivers, power management, memory management, device management, and the resource access. These are main functionalities of the kernel, Linux kernel. Okay, so as we learned in operating system, kernel is the basic thing, right? It is the heart of the operating system. Similarly, so when you are taking this Android operating system, here Linux kernel, it is acting as the main thing. It is the heart of the Android operating system. Okay, so next we can see about the next layer. What's the next layer to the Linux kernel? It is native libraries or native component. Okay, and it is just top of the Linux kernel, and we can see some of the examples of the native libraries. Okay, so the first one it is, so many libraries are there. Only some example I have given here. WebKit, then SQLite, Freetile, Media. These are some of the examples of the libraries inside the native components. Okay, so the first one it is WebKit library. So what is library? So library is the default files. It will be there in your computer system or your mobile devices, right? So if you are taking this Android operating system, some files will be there in the Android operating system, right? So that we will be calling it as library. So with the help of the libraries, we can do some functionalities in the device, right? So the first one it is WebKit library. It is responsible for browser support. So in your mobile phone, you are using browser applications, right? Browser, searching something, sending something, receiving something you are doing in the browser. So that is supported by the WebKit library. Okay, and SQLite, we all know, right? SQL, it is related to the data. So here it is responsible the database. And free type, it is also one of the library inside this native library. It is responsible for font support. So you are choosing font, you are using some fonts, right? So for font support, this free type it is used. And the last one it is media. So we know in the previous video also we learned in the iOS architecture about this media. So it is responsible for audio and video format. Here also the same thing. It is responsible for playing and recording audio and video. Understand? So these are the first two layers, Linux kernel and native libraries. In the architecture we have seen the first two base two layers. Okay. And next we can see about the next layer, Android runtime. Okay. So Android runtime. In Java we have learned about Java runtime. You may have learned, right? Java runtime environment is there. While executing, that particular program will be executed in that particular platform, right? Similarly, here we are having one thing that is called a Dalvik virtual machine. Okay, Dalvik virtual machine. In Java you have learned like Java virtual machine. So here it is similar to that JVM. Here the name it is Dalvik virtual machine. It is like JVM. Okay, but here it is optimized for the mobile usage. So size will be shrinked, optimized. Okay, so that's the difference between this JVM and the DVM. So it is especially created for the Android operating system. Okay, and as it is used for the mobile phones, here the memory it is less and the performance it is faster. When comparing to the JVM, here the performance it is faster. Then it provides memory management and multi-threading. Okay, so you may all know like memory management and multi-threading. At the same time, you can do so many processing. Okay, so these are the functionalities done by the Android runtime. Okay, and runtime. So if you are coming under the concept runtime, you have to remember about the DVM, Dalvik virtual machine, similar to the JVM. And the next layer is Android framework. So this is the main part, framework. Okay, and it includes the Android APIs such as UI, user interface, and telephony. You are making calls, right? And the locations, GPA, identifying the location, content providers, package manager. So these are some of the APIs inside the Android framework. And so many classes and the interfaces will be there in the Android framework, and it provides higher level services to communicate with the other devices. Okay, so these are main functionalities under the Android framework. Okay, services of the Android framework. Some of the key services are activity manager is there, content providers, resource manager, notification manager, and view system. Okay, so activity manager is which controls all the aspects of application life cycle. Okay, so all the aspects of application life cycle will be controlled by the activity manager. So then next one is content provider. It allows the application to publish and share data with other devices. Okay, so that is content providers. Then resource manager. Resource manager is he will take care of some resources like strings, color settings. So these are called non-coded programs like strings, color settings, and font setting. So these everything will be controlled by the resource manager. Then notification manager, display alerts and notifications. So some alerts and notifications are there in your mobile devices, right? So that it is taken care by this notification manager. And view system to create application user interfaces. Okay, so these are some of the key services done by the Android framework. Okay, and the last layer is the application. So if you are taking that architecture, so the application is the upper and it is top of all the layers. Okay, and here some examples have given here, right? Home, you may know, right? The mobile devices, what we are seeing is the application. Home is there, contact settings, games, browser, and so many things are there, right? So all these are the examples for the application layer. Okay, so what all these are doing is, it is using the Android framework, and along with that it is using the runtime and the libraries. Okay, so here execution it is done in the runtime, and it is having the framework, Android framework. Execution is done in the runtime, and finally whatever files needed, it is taking from the libraries. Understand? So these are about the Android operating system architecture. So we have seen some layers from the Linux kernel to the application layer, and some components are there in each and every layer, and we have seen how it is executing. Okay, with the example Linux kernel, we have seen all the lays how operating Android operating system and how the components of the components are doing its functionalities. Okay, understand?